Welcome to One More Hour, the podcast all about backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra running mindset of going one more. If you're an ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, or just someone who loves to test your limits, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Wilson, an ultra marathon and marathon run coach, trail runner, outdoor enthusiast, and backyard ultra expert. On this show, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and conversations with runners, race directors, experts, and more to help you go further, dig deeper, and keep going when everything in you says stop. Thank you so much for joining me for some yards. Let's get started with one more. Today we are diving into the top 5 mental traps backyard runners fall into and exactly how to avoid them so you can stay in the race, continue going further and further than you have in the past, and stay in the race when everyone else is breaking. So starting with trap number 1, which is thinking beyond the next yard. I often hear, we are only 32 miles in. I can't, how am I supposed to get to 100 miles? Runners start thinking about 12 hours from now. They start thinking about the night running. They're not looking forward to the night running. I've been there, certainly, for the night running. They're thinking about, what happens when I actually get tired? I'm only at 32 miles and I'm already starting to feel that. How am I supposed to get to 80 miles? I can't even imagine getting there. I don't want to get there at this point. They start thinking about what happens when they don't want to eat anymore, or they experience GI distress or something that they no one wants it to happen, but something that they didn't think would happen to them. This creates overwhelm, which leads to panic, which leads to an early exit if you cannot get it under control. If you do not have crew who can snap you out of it, if you have not practiced during your training how to stop that thinking, or how to say, this is not rational thinking, I need to stay in the present and be right here, right now. You have to practice those things, which is how you're going to fix it. First of all, focus on 1 hour. Nothing else matters right now except this yard that you are running right now. Break the race into those 1 hour chunks and do not think about the finish line. There is no finish line really in the backyard, but don't think about your goal of hitting 100 miles and only being at mile 24 and having an entire day of running ahead of you before you actually reach that goal. You just can't think about anything else except right now. You have to be able to bring yourself back to the present. You have to be able to focus on this loop and do not think about the loop ahead. And we'll talk about, and we have talked about this in other episodes, how you can use certain milestones as motivation to keep going and being like, oh, sunrise is in 2 hours, I can get there. But in this instance, in what sets the winners apart from those that mentally break down, it is being able to stay present and not think about anything else except this hour right now. So again, focus on this in your training by focusing on either the current mile of your long run and not thinking oh my gosh, I have 20 miles left of this 25-mile long run. Don't think about anything but the current rep in your workout. So don't think I have 6 by 1 mile today and I don't know how I'm going to do that. I would say bargain with yourself in this instance of saying, I just have to do 1 rep right now. Be present in that 1 mile. Get it done. Okay, I did that. That was okay. I can do another one. And work yourself up to those 6 miles. But don't think about anything else than that 1 rep or that 1 mile. And this is something that's called micro anchoring that is extremely beneficial in backyard ultras. Trap number 2 is comparing yourself to other runners. So seeing faster runners leave the corral and get back to the corral faster than you. It creates doubt. It's the mindset of they're stronger than me, they're faster than me, they're going to go further than me, instead of we are all doing this one loop. We have 1 hour to do it, and it doesn't matter if it takes 40 minutes or 57 minutes. We're all doing the same loop. We have the same amount of time to do it. and really getting away from that comparison game. So how do you really work on avoiding that mindset? Remember, appearances lie, and backyard ultras do not reward the fastest runner, okay? I see it time and time again. Runners that aren't as experienced in the backyard, who maybe didn't even do any research on the backyard and strategies on pacing, which you should go listen to our latest episode all about pacing. But actually 2 episodes ago is all about pacing. Last week's was about crew or doing it self-supported. But I see that mistake of, oh my gosh, I can run on this super easy trail or this paved trail if it's on a paved trail or bike path. I can just knock down 9-minute miles super easy, low effort, or semi. But the further you want to go, the easier you have to keep it. And oftentimes that effort level rises over time, and those runners burn out because they have 20 minutes back at camp, and they're sitting around and they're getting stiff and they're cooling down. And in a certain sense, they are using unnecessary energy to run faster to get back to camp and have more time back at camp, especially in the early hours of the race, right? Like typically I see runners burn out within the first 12 hours if they are taking this approach of, I can throw down 9-minute miles for this 4+ mile course, and I'm going to spend 20 minutes back at camp. But what is that time doing for you back at camp? So take a listen to the pacing episode. I'm not going to go into it any further, but it gives you something to think about in like, okay, I see these runners going out much faster than me, and they're getting back and they have all this time back at camp, but get out of that comparison game, because in the backyard ultra, that's not necessarily beneficial. So the backyard does not reward the fastest runner. Stick to your plan, stick to your pacing, stick to your mindset. Like stick to what you need to do for your race. Because if you are running someone else's race, you will not finish your own. You will not reach your goals. If you are running because you want to chat with someone, but their pace is a lot faster than yours, you're going to burn out. Your energy level is you're going to expend more energy. Your effort level is going to be higher than it should be. And that comparison is just also wasted energy. Trap number 3 is catastrophizing normal discomfort. You're going to be uncomfortable out there. You're going to experience some fatigue. You're going to experience a lot of fatigue. You're going to experience doubt. You're going to experience some soreness and some stiffness and probably some pain. Low energy. Like I could go on with the discomfort that you're going to experience, and every runner hits these different waves. Like sometimes you may not experience certain aspects of it, but at some point, and as your running career, as your experience in the backyard ultra expands, you're going to come across these things. It is common for runners to fear that one bad loop means the whole race is over. It's not. It is not over. Please remember that. With ultra running, it's very different from racing a road race all out. If you hit threshold in a marathon, if you hit a really bad spot and you haven't done some of the mindset work, or you don't have the fitness to overcome that hurdle of holding the pace that you need to hold for the marathon, a lot of times you can't overcome that. But ultra running is very different. And waves are normal in ultra running, and you can overcome those waves, but you have to ride it. And you have to, I think you should expect these waves, but you should teach yourself to expect that discomfort and the lows and not to fear it. And you have to remind yourself that it will turn around. And when it does turn around and that next low comes along, you have to use that data that you did hit a low and it came around and you rode that wave and then you were on this high again. But you have to use that pattern to remind yourself, right, that it is a part of a pattern and that it will turn around like it has in the past. So really ask yourself, is this a forever problem, or is this a 2-loop problem, or a 1-loop problem, or a 3-loop problem? And can you just do one more loop? Like, break it down to being in the present moment and doing one more. I can do one more. The answer is almost always yes. Use that loop as a reset and really embrace the next high that is coming. Another thing that I see common in the backyard is when someone says they're only going to do one more. This next yard is my last one. That next yard usually feels pretty good. However, mentally, they have already decided that they are done, and that's very hard to overturn. So they can have a really good loop, and they've already decided that they're going to quit. But if you can train the one more mindset, you can get through that and continue on. Now, that high may drop very quickly. I've been there before, but it helps you go one more. And that one more can be a PR, right? Like, it can be the furthest that you've ran. If there are 2 of you left and you said you're only doing one more, but that other person does not finish their yard, like, look where you're at right now. So try to embrace that one more mindset, and that it will turn around, and that a low is not the end of your race, because there are so many things that can happen. You just have to stick to it and fuel and hydrate and work on your mindset and continue to tell yourself to keep going. I've had energy lows. I've panicked about the darkness and the loneliness. I've had GI problems and blisters, but I've always given it that next hour, and I've tackled each of these things with different tools, right? Like, the backyard with ultras, you have to have all of these tools in every single category. Fueling, hydration, mental, gear, blisters, all of these different approaches you need to have. So tackling energy lows with some caffeine, checking in with your nutrition and hydration. Are you dehydrated? Have you not been eating? Tackle that energy low with one of those. If you're a social person, I like to listen to people, so I may just go run with some other people to listen. But if you're a social person, find someone to run with and chat with and get your dopamine that way. Getting a better light source for night running. Think about, again, that's a beautiful thing about the backyard, about ultra running in general. It's always teaching you something, but you have to actually listen and observe and apply what you're noticing and really learn how to adjust to the lessons that you're learning. So if night running is a concern for you, get a better light source. Instead of using a headlamp, which I was using and which caused a lot of problems and fear in night running. And I want to say that I run early in the morning, and for the majority of the year, except for summer, it is dark. I am used to running in the dark, but I am not used to running in the dark for 12 hours after running for 12 hours. And so those are the things you have to learn how to tackle and how to approach head on. Getting a light that's further down, either a waist light, like UltraSpire waist light, or the Nox Gear chest lamp. Get something that's going to help you run on the trails better and catch the shadows better, or not create shadows like a headlamp does. Taking a break from fueling if you're experiencing GI distress. It's okay to take a break from fueling if you need to. Pop the blister. I popped the blister and reminded myself that this is gonna hurt like heck at the beginning for the first 10 minutes, but after that it's gonna be so much better, and I'm gonna be running completely pain-free after that. So do not catastrophize the little things that can and will end your race. These are all things that you should be practicing in training so that when they come up on race day, you know how to address them. Trap number 4 is the early comfort lie. Oh, this one is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see runners make when coming from the roads and going to the trails and running ultras. It is, I feel great. I don't need to eat or drink yet, right? I'm only an hour in. I don't need food. I don't need water. Feeling strong in the first few hours tricks runners into skipping nutrition and body care, which leads them to digging a hole. The first hour that you skip fueling and hydration, you're already digging that hole and you're not realizing it. It's just like you shouldn't wait until you're hungry on a long run to fuel. Like you shouldn't wait until 90 minutes to fuel. You should start fueling pretty early and fuel often so that you stay ahead of it. Same thing with the backyard. Same thing on race day. Do not get stuck in the mindset of it's early, I don't need to fuel or hydrate yet. Systems are very important, and they're more important than feelings. So practice your nutrition timing on race day and your hydration timing on race day or during training, and do that every single long run for race day. Set alarms for your nutrition and have a repeatable, boring routine every single yard. Backyards reward the boring athlete. Boring is a good thing for us. Trap number 5 is the exit narrative. It is when your brain starts to build a story about why it would be okay to quit. The rational, logical brain outside of running cannot make sense of it. The things that my brain has come up with during a race, they're hard for me to verbally say out loud to someone and to explain, because although they make sense in my head while I am 18 hours into a race, I cannot wrap my head around them right now. It seems silly, but after you've been running for 22 or 34, 56 hours, the mind's stories are very convincing. I have to work, now these are maybe some things that I would not do if I was to run a backyard ultra. First of all, take Monday off. But I've heard lots of, I have to work on Sunday, so I have to be done running before then. You're automatically giving yourself an exit. I've heard, I need to drive to Chicago for a game on Sunday night. What? I've already done more than I had planned. Sally won it last year, so she's just going to win again, so I'm going to be done now. My first backyard, which was the Extreme North Dakota Racing race organization, it was their first time doing a backyard ultra, and I asked a local friend who was running Superior 100 in I think it was like 5 weeks, if he wanted to do the race with me. And I suggested it would be a good idea for him to finalize his nutrition and do a run through and get some good time on feet while running for him a super easy pace and practicing his fueling and hydration in the middle of the summer, or the race was in August, in case that race day was hot and he could just get a longer run in and practice fueling. I heard him on a local podcast and he said that he was going for the win. I was like, this was not what we talked about. And I didn't want me asking him to do the race to sabotage his goals of Superior 100. So it got down to 4 of us and 2 guys dropped. And I said that I was going to be done because I didn't want him to go any further because we were already past the 50-mile mark. And I put his goals ahead of mine. But that was the tired mind thinking, right? It was coming up with this exit narrative of, I am tired. Sunset is here. We're going to go into the night. I've never ran through an entire night before at this time. And I don't want him to run even longer than he should because he has a 100-miler coming up in 5 weeks and he has huge goals for that. So that in itself was an exit narrative for me. In my second backyard ultra, we heard coyotes at like 1 a.m., which growing up in Minnesota, I am very used to hearing coyotes. Like I probably hear them once a week at my house. But hearing them when you're running by yourself after you've been running for 17 hours is a little bit different. And I told myself, like, this is my tired brain thinking while I am running after I've ran almost 80 miles. What happens if these coyotes attack me and I can't finish this race? I should probably just be done. Like, the thing is that your mind comes up with, the exit narrative is just, to a point, hilarious. But how do you avoid the exit narrative? Write down a predetermined list of acceptable reasons to stop. And then share those with your crew or volunteers at the race if you're self-supported. So if you're saying, I can stop for an injury, what kind of injury? There's a big difference between a pulled hamstring and some major blisters. Is it a risk of rhabdo? That was my main concern for my last backyard ultra because I was so dehydrated from the winds. What medical concerns are part of your rule of being done? Is it a safety concern because you are falling asleep on the course and there are cliff lines and you're tripping? Everything else is just your mind trying to bargain with you. Like, it's just fascinating what the mind can come up with. So train a neutral, focused mindset instead of an emotional one. And I will say that if you have a lot going on in your life, it can be easier to fall into this mindset. So work on it in your training. Mindset work should be a daily practice. It doesn't have to consume your day. It can take a few minutes. It doesn't have to consume your entire run, but focus like a few minutes during your run on a mindset tool, but do it on a daily basis. So those are the top 5 mental traps that I see backyard runners fall into. They're very common, so don't be ashamed by that. It just takes daily work, right? If you want this list in writing, along with some practical steps that we talked about to fix each one, I put it all together into a PDF, a free guide called The Top 5 Mental Traps Backyard Runners Fall Into. You can grab it in the show notes. It's also on my website. But remember, if you are struggling with any of these mindset traps, you are not alone. These traps show up for every runner at some point in time, even those that are winning the races. The key is not avoiding them, and the goal is not perfection. It is staying in the game long enough to give yourself a chance and having the tools to respond. So until next time, just one more hour. Thanks for tuning in to One More Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow so you don't miss the next yard, and share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits. I'd love to hear your own stories of going one more. Connect with me on Instagram at the One More Hour Podcast. And if you could leave a quick review, it'll help more runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go one more hour.